If you're unfamiliar with ThriveSpace, this session is going to really help you understand what it is, why I developed it, viewed it as an open source product, even though I just built it very simply in Google Sheets. The ambition is to turn it into an app. I love talking about this concept of a personal operating system. So this is where this all comes from. And I'm really excited about giving the tool away so that the community here can really take it, own it, you develop, you enhance it, and then we can share it with the community on how that can help other people.
After I left Amazon, I went to British Telecom, or BT, over here in the UK. And then my current employer is Salesforce. The big thing that separated a lot of Brandon's content from some of the stuff that was out there was its versatility. So I recognize that here's someone who's made $1 million a year. It's in a very different stage of their career to me, but has got something that will suit me as a SMB seller and will hopefully equip me as a mid-market and an enterprise seller later in my career. Where I was at in terms of my role with Salesforce, I'd come in and I was full of beans like any person new to their job, and had a real high activity, high intensity. Let's throw a load of activity at this, and some stuff will stick, and some stuff did, and it was great. And inevitably, some stuff didn't. And I was looking at a lot of my peers who had a formula of doing this, had a way of working. And what I did was I had a really intentional look at Brandon's ThriveSpace, and I thought, how can I make this work for me? And what I wanted was a lifestyle where I can deliver repeatable success in my role. So I'm over-delivering on my targets without burning out. I'm going to be in this career and in this industry for several decades to come, probably. And I want to be able to do this without giving a big 5 years to it and then crashing and burning. I'm also a guy with a young family, and I want to be there for my kids. I don't want to be on planes, trains, and automobiles 7 days a week and working every hour of the night to make my targets. I want to ensure that there's a better way of doing it. So what I did was I customized the original template provided by Brandon around July of last year, maybe August. And I was at a situation where I had no pipe. Had got about 18% of my full year quota coming into the end of Q3. And it wasn't looking particularly good. And I got really rigid on what I wanted to do every single day. What were my inputs going to be, both on a personal level and on a professional level? And I finished the year in a very strong place. I finished out our Q4 with 111% of my number. I closed 160% of our new logos. I was given Salesforce award for driving team culture and performance because I was taking a lot of people on that journey with me internally. What this is essentially here to do is show me the inputs that I put into my own well-being and the inputs that I put into my work. The example that I have here, these are my actual results from January, which was the end of our fiscal year and was a very busy time at work. I don't have February data because I didn't bother with it in February. I took the entire month off. I went on 2 holidays. I went to Spain for 10 days. I came back. I did 2 days of work. And then I went away to camping with my family for another week. So I only worked 6 days in February off the back of that because, as you'll see, I was able to recognize that in January, I was actually taking more time away from myself and towards work. And visually being able to see that and recognize that has been phenomenal. And what that's actually meant now in March is I've come back. We are 13 days into March, and I have 22% of my year done in the last 13 days because I was still filling the top of the funnel in January and making sure that I've got stuff coming in here. And that's really teed me up for the year. So what I'm going to do is talk through this. The first thing is total scorecard. It's obviously just a sum of the two. But if you look at column D here, this is my total wellness. And this is made up of 60 points. Work is made out of 40 points. So in theory, I'm indexing higher on my own well-being than I am on my work out of 100. And it works on a very basic red, amber, green model where if I have a good day, it's green. Like Brandon, I have a lot of different things: sleep, stress, nutrition, and exercise. So I have sleep, which is based on my percentage score. How efficient did I sleep? And that's a score that's assigned to me for my wearable. And then recovery score. This is also a score that's generated by my wearable, which is made up of a mixture of my heart rate variability, my resting heart rate, basic nervous system stuff. So it's under how much stress are you actually under? And I noticed a lot of really interesting things. I work from home, and I noticed that actually traveling into the office, which is in a different city to me, that has quite a big impact on my recovery scores. It also has a big impact on my sleep because I get up earlier to go. So now when I'm thinking I got to be in the office this week, I'm planning for that in advance. It's the same when I travel internationally. I'm not just thinking of the time cost that I'm away from my kids or anything. I'm thinking of how much time is it actually going to take for me to recover from this trip. So it's a really powerful score. So that's my wellness piece. I talk about the working scorecard and how I balance my well-being with my performance at work. This is made up of a few things. It's made up of my sales driving Pomodoros, so very similar to Brandon. How many Pomodoros during a day am I putting in that are actually going to move the needle? So that is from preparing a quote, prospecting activities, creating a point of view for a customer, creating slideshows and documents and quotes and things like that, progressing an opportunity, running a demo, running a discovery call, whatever it might be. In the morning, every single morning, I carve out 30 minutes as early in the day as I can to complete a very specific activity that I determined the night before. And I do a yes or no. Did I do that activity first thing? And 9 times out of 10, that's going to be a sales driving Pomodoro. So this is always a really big one for me. Before I've opened Slack, before I've opened an email, before I've done anything, have I just gone and done that? And starting my day with a win. And it's incredible how much momentum you'll take from that to be able to go, first of all, I've got one of my Pomodoros out of the way. And second of all, I've done one like major thing. The next thing that I look at doing is prospecting activities. And as I said, I'm in SMB. Traditionally, you'd expect hundreds and hundreds of dials and things like that. That's not really how I work. Some of the stuff Brandon has done has been around identifying your diamond accounts and going after them. And that's what I've been ruthless about. I work with a very small number and I try and go deep on them. And I'm trying to commit to, can I do 15 really key top of the funnel activities a day? And I don't mean like a dial. I want a proper connect call where we've had a conversation, where I've had a really tailored, relevant email or POV gone out to them, some social selling, something along those lines. Over the course of a week, those really add up. And if you're doing that consistently, you should see this that the pipeline is continuing to come through. The last usual part of my working scorecard is end of day prep. And even though it's only worth 8 points, it's probably the most important of all of them. And what I do is I have the last 30 minutes of each day where I fill out this table. Basically, that takes me like 5, 6 minutes. I get to inbox zero, not by replying to everybody, but by capturing the ones I don't get to as tasks and figuring out when they need to get done by. I look at tomorrow's calendar and figure out what are my revenue driving activities, how urgent are the stuff that I haven't captured or got done, and when does it need to be done by. And I look at what's tomorrow's big activity going to be? What's my eat the frog thing first in the morning? And if I do that, I'm going to probably have a very good day unless something drastically changes overnight. Similarly, from an accelerator point of view, I toyed around. This is a very recent thing I've put in where I started looking at bonus points for pipeline that I would self-generate as opposed to relying on a BDR or an SDR or somebody like that for run rate deals, key deals, large and mega deals, and giving myself daily points for that. It's an experiment, really. So on that note, experimentation is something I've done a lot and that I would encourage you to do to find out what works for you. And ultimately, over the course of January, what I probably had was a situation where my work scores were consistently very good. And my wellness scores towards the end started to tail away with maybe a small individual successes dotted here and there. I've really been able to tip the balance back the other way. And it's one of those things where you're constantly going back and forth looking for that perfect day where you're managing to hit it out of the park at work, but you're also ticking all the boxes at home. It's not going to suddenly do everything, but it's going to go a long way. One of the mechanisms that I've put in place quite recently, I have a weekly business review that I conduct myself where it's primarily for work. It's something I would have had since my Amazon days, where I write out in freehand narrative in prose an explanation of how my week is going, and then I use metrics to back that up. And one of the metrics I've started incorporating into that is my personal operating system score. And I actually share that with my manager now because I've been very intentional that this is something that's going to make me better at my job as opposed to just something that makes me a bit healthier. I would say that you probably would want to give yourself about 90 days to have a look at it, see what the info says, see what you actually like or don't like or feel you don't need. If there's a thing in there you're just like, oh look, I don't even need that, then probably you don't. There's a lot of like in Whoop, there's a ton of extra data that I could capture because I have available to me, but I just don't think is important. I found group support started working. So I started talking to a lot of peers in the company that I was doing this type of thing. And they've asked if they can have a copy of this. Half of Salesforce has got this thing at the minute. I think once you associate that this is part of your identity and not just something that you do, I don't know, every now and again, but when the mood strikes you, it becomes much, much easier to buy into this and to stick at it. I think the first step is actually probably figuring out what you want. And I know that sounds like really generic advice. A step was picturing in very clear detail what you actually want to achieve and visualizing that, writing that out, having that element of lifestyle design where it's fine to be like, oh, I'd love to be happy and I'd love to be rich. And for anyone trying to figure out a lot of the formulas, just right click on the sheets down here. And I have lots of back-end information in there around the formulas that create these. If anyone wants to use this or alter it or anything and can't figure it out, connect with me on LinkedIn.